Okay. So Tracy, thank you again for agreeing to be my client for this section. Basically, it's for the assessment that I need to go through for attending the next level of coaching uh, ability. Okay. So we have discussed before the call that what you would like to achieve through this section, and then we have also touched base on some of the confidentiality and also how would it be beneficial for you in this section, like being open, being honest, and then also I will take some notes and then I will also discard it and end. And then there will be a timer as well to remind us later on. So you're all clear about that, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so Tracy, we can start by maybe you can tell me again, what would you like to achieve through this 30-minute section? What is your goal?
My goal at the end of the session is to be able to understand where can I strike a balance in maintaining a good relationship with my family, and then also being able to go into the family business and being able to meet certain business goals and business objectives that we hope to work together to achieve. I am quite a tiger. I have quite a tiger personality. Sometimes it can come across as being quite aggressive, but at the same time, it's just a matter of making sure I keep the balance. And I think it would be nice to see if I could have any tips on how to do that and any reminders I could give to myself. Then, okay, I need to bring it down a bit, or just, understand whether the goal is we maintain the relationship, do the business objective. Where does that balance? Where can I strike that balance?
So it's the balance between the business objective and the family relationship.
Yes.
So how would you know at the end of section that this section has been useful for you?
I won't really know because, to be honest, this whole process, we're still in the beginning of the process in terms of I haven't quite started the business yet, but this is one of the reservations that I have. So I may not be able to, I hope the advice that you give me that I take away with, I will be able to use in the future. But if I can see myself doing what you advise, I think that would even be helpful.
So
Yep.
I might not have explained clear enough before our call, but let me explain it now. So this coaching section, actually, I won't give you any advice.
Right.
I will only facilitate you to discover your own solutions, your own resources. So would that be good with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So then can you tell me again at the end of this section, if this is the mode, I won't give you any advice. So how would you know this section is useful for you and your goal is achieved?
I think that I recently was in a parenting workshop, and one of the things that I had learned is that when you I think there's a lot of things that I have inside, and when I actually say it out loud, it helps to solidify it. So I may have a lot of feelings, I may have different viewpoints, but until I actually voice it out, it may not necessarily be something that I'm really believe in unless I voice it out to somebody else. So I think that by being able to talk to you and to be able to tell you what I think, that already is a process in validating that this is the course of action that I should take. Does that make sense?
So it's like just saying out loud what your thoughts, your feelings, and what you want to do, that you will find it helpful.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So you have repeated more than once about the word balance. How do you define balance?
I think it's when the two are not conflicted and you're easily able to find you're able to put it down and understand, or at least segment and acknowledge that there could be tension between these two. So when you're balancing between the family relationship and the business objectives, and when you know that there's intention there and you acknowledge that it's there, I think that the balance really is being able to go back and forth. Kind of like a seesaw. As long as you're not teetering too much towards one, then that's a balance. And it's not going to be perfect. But I think that it's better to recognize when, if there's a situation where I feel like, oh, I'm leaning more towards one than the other, then I know to correct myself
Mm.
before it goes way off balance.
Mm.
So
If you are able to strike that balance, what would you see happening?
I would hope that, when my family and I, when my husband's family and I, when we get together, we can seamlessly, we can set a boundary. So if we're at work, we talk about work. And then when we are at dinner time, we maybe occasionally might touch upon some things at work, but then the main thing is really just working on the family dynamic. So I think that would be how I see actually having that balance at work.
Hmm. Are you saying that if you're able to strike this balance, it means that you're able to set boundaries?
Yes. And that other people respect the boundary.
Mm.
So that it's very clear that it's not just me. It's like, oh, sorry, 6 o'clock. It's time for me to deal with my kids. And if I do that, they understand that and they respect that. So I think it's not just my setting the boundary, but it's by other people respecting that boundary.
Why is setting this boundary or striking that balance it's important to you?
Because when I first graduated from college, I worked in New York in advertising, and advertising is at an agency. So I had no life. I was always working overtime, and I was very, very committed to my boss. But then I was there for about 3 years before I decided to move to Hong Kong because my now husband moved here first. And I figured, well, at the time, during 9/11, I was in New York when 9/11 happened. And I figured, well, I could die tomorrow. So why am I in New York when the love of my life is in Hong Kong? So I moved. But during the 3 years that I was in New York, I didn't know how to strike a balance. And I felt that, I was very severely loyal to my employer. I think to the point where she felt I could be overlooked when it comes to getting a salary, because she knows that I'm going to stay. And I think that understanding that and just saying, wait, I need to, if I set my boundary, then maybe I have, better negotiating power, or just I'm healthier, I'm happier. And I think at the time, when you come out of college or university, just as you're graduating, you're hungry and you're motivated and you're fresh out of college, you're ready to just attack the world, and you're not going to understand that. But now, it's been like 20 years since that time, and I've grown up, and I don't want to put myself through that. I was very unhealthy, and I just think that when there's too much of an imbalance, things just, your body's telling you, and when you ignore it when you're young, it's okay, but you can't do that now. You can't ignore your body now. And I think that I don't want to go down that downward spiral again. I did it before, and I just don't want to do that. It's not enjoyable. and if I can, control that, or at least, be able to understand, I've done this before, and I can stop it before it happens.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So what is happening right now that makes you come up with this goal? I want to strike a balance. I want to set boundaries.
Well, my husband, so the reason why they're pulling me in is because they are a manufacturer, and they've been they are an OEM manufacturer. And my husband is currently right now on business. And when he quotes to the client versus what the retail price is, there's obviously a huge gap. So he wants me to help on the e-commerce side, put our own brand together, and then, we can try to take that chunk back, and then become more. It's not just about manufacturing, but become a brand, and put a story behind that brand, and that's where he wants me to help. And I've always been the type where, I'm not working now because I chose to be a stay-at-home mom, but the reason I went and got the MBA from UST is because I need stimulation. I'm constantly learning. I love learning. And if you were to tell me during my New York days that I was going to be a stay-at-home mom, I would have laughed at you because I said, no, 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 I'm a career woman. But now I'm a career woman. I'm stuck at home and I want to get back into it. My kids are older and my husband needs the help because I think they're at a very vital point in their business where they really need to look towards another solution besides simply just manufacturing more products and depending on key clients. So in that, knowing that they want to pull me into this, and I need to mentally prepare myself, what is the best way for me going into this? So I need to set my mentality, and I can think that that's why this coaching session I think is good because it's timed really well because it's just a matter of setting that foundation and being very clear. And then I think, so I think that's the reason why. And this past year has been a really big discovery in my relationship with my husband. I mean, he's a typical guy where he can be quite absent-minded and, the kids are like, Dad, mom told you 1,000 times you can't do that. And, so sometimes, he's not the brightest light bulb on the Christmas tree, but he loves me very much. And I see what he gives to the family and I want to be able to give back. And I think that while I initially had reservations in working with him because I think, oh, is that going to lead to even more fighting? But I think that bringing this business thinking in has brought our relationship to another level that I really appreciate because we can really strategize, we can brainstorm, we're having very productive conversation as opposed to just saying, oh, have you checked the school notices yet? Did you check the homework? Did you sign the handbook? So it brings the conversation to a more intellectual level rather than just very transactional things. And now the question is, can I take that dynamic and also convey that in the relationships that I have with his brother, his sister, and also it's mostly his brother and sister because the older generation, they're quite removed from the business. So,
So what worries you?
that my biggest concern really is because it's my husband, then his brother, then the sister. So it's two older brothers and then the sister, and the brother in the middle, the brother, he's very harsh. He's very nice to me, and I've earned his respect because just with the family dynamic, I've stuck through a lot of family issues. I feel like I've married, I don't know, when I was a kid and I used to watch the Hong Kong soap operas, I thought, this is just strange, but they really happen. And I feel like I've kind of married into that. And there's just a lot of drama that happens within these families, but I'm sticking through it. And from a family perspective, the brother really respects me because he's seen that I really support my husband and I really help to bring out the best in him. But I think that when it comes to then adding a business dynamic to it, I'm a little scared because, oh, is he going to yell at me like he yells at my husband, or is he going to be as demanding? So that's why I have some reservation. I think he's the main reason. And then with the sister, I've done a little bit with the sister before, and I just feel like I removed myself from that because I thought, I think there's too much conflict. Our management styles are very different, and I don't want to have any confrontation. So therefore, I removed myself from that project. But I think that moving forward with this one, where all three of them have a say, then it's different. And I need to figure out, that's my reservation. Number one is the brother, and then number two is the previous experience with the sister. So just knowing that confrontation could happen.
Okay. So it's your impression of that brother and also your past experience with the sister. That's it.
Yes.
That makes you come up with this goal. We
Mm.
mentioned that how to strike a balance between your business goals and family relationships.
Yes. I mean, it definitely also comes from my husband, but I think that there's definitely reservation there because, I don't want, obviously, I don't want to divorce him. And, but I've seen unfortunately, with family business, how it can tear a family apart. And I think that as long as you have the right found, as long as you have similar thinking and you're moving towards it's a concerted goal, then I think it's okay. But when there's greed and there's fighting over money, I mean, I've seen it with other aspects of the family business. I am quite concerned, but I don't think that that's going to be as big of an issue. I think the three of them are quite grounded, and it's I think that it's just rooted by it is rooted by my husband initially, but I think my husband and I have worked it out, and I think that it'll be okay. So now I'm going down the ladder. So now it goes down to the brother and then the sister, because then those are the other two. Yeah, but I think the origin of the issue was originally my husband. But I think that we've gone through, because we've been working on this together for about 2 years now, and I think that we have. I can visually, I can see how I am helping him, and he's also very, responsive to it. So I'm kind of coaching him. But yeah, and I think I've established myself as somebody who doesn't just talk BS. Like, I actually have substance, and I think his the brother and the sister also appreciate that.
Okay. May I share with you an observation, like an image that I have when you set the goal, striking a balance,
Mm.
and all the thoughts together with you?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Maybe I draw it.